Yeah, very
Awesome.
well.
Oh,
Thanks for having us.
great.
Doing?
Going well, going well. Yeah. How you doing? So, is there anyone else we need to unmute? I think there's a few of you from the
Is
Holoclear project
somebody who
today.
looks like a cowboy emoji. That's our dev.
Oh yeah. Okay. I thought it was a troll because it said like something like I want to talk or something, and I'm like, all right, that'll be someone wanting to talk about another project.
Yeah, it looks like a joker, but it's
Yeah,
actually
that's
quite
cool.
serious. And then there should be J
Cool.
underscore GRV knocking about on here as well somewhere. He's
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
joined.
if they just raised a hand, we've got 322 in, so I might not be able to
Yeah,
find them in the list.
yeah, he's there as well. I can see he's
Yeah.
put his hand up.
Oh yeah, got you. Hi Jay, how's it going?
Oh yeah. Hey Glenn. How's it going? You good?
Awesome.
An Englishman. We like that.
That's it. Yeah, well, yeah, you're probably my way near Manchester. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very
Leeds,
nice.
Leeds, Leeds.
Leeds.
Leeds, oh, cool. You didn't get the Eurovision drought. Liverpool got it. I know Leeds went in for it as well.
Yeah, we're so lucky, unfortunately. Yeah, but that's the three of us from the core team. Are all here
Okay,
and present.
awesome. Well, if you're ready, I can start the recording and introduce you, and we can go into the Holoclear project.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Um,
Welcome to the Welcome to Talk community. I'm Glenn, your host. Today we have joining us Holoclear, here to speak about the project. This Holo GRV. We'll go into the project shortly, but first, guys, can we start with your background and experience? That'd be great.
yeah, absolutely. Firstly, hello everyone. Thanks for having us. You've got the core team here from Holoclear, all three of us. My name is Jay. I'm the CMO, so Chief Marketing Officer for Holoclear. And my previous experience, my kind of day job is I work in management running a sales and marketing team for a FTSE 100 technology company here in the UK. So kind of big corporate business in the UK. And together, the core team, all three of us here, worked on a previous project which had hit 120 million all-time high about a year ago. So we're an experienced team who kind of have I guess a unique element of both significant real world business experience and deep kind of crypto knowledge and experience there. And I guess we're here today to talk to you a little bit about the Holoclear ecosystem, our vision and our plans, and I guess why we think we're the right people to do that. But Seth, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure thing. Hey guys, my name's Seth. I'm the creative director here at Holoclear. So that's involved all of the kind of website build and brand strategy and basically building all of the dashboard and the kind of application that we've put together as part of the Holoclear ecosystem. As Jay mentioned, outside of kind of my Web3 experience, I've spent a lot of time working basically the past decade heading up an innovative kind of brand design agency here in London. So working with lots of kind of big brands around the world. So yeah, kind of lots of real world stuff that I've been kind of doing on the outside as well. And over to the dev.
Hey guys. So the community affectionately call me Dr. Dev. That's because I've got a PhD in mathematics from the University of Cambridge in the UK. My role is I wrote all of the back end, so all of the smart contracts that exist in the Holoclear ecosystem, all of the trading strategies, and all of the dynamic optimization algorithms that we run, which we can talk a little bit more about later. I guess my experience in the real world outside of education is I've spent the last 7 or 8 years working for hedge funds here in London, writing algorithmic trading strategies for them. I think that's about covers it.
Okay, that's great, guys. Thanks for the introduction. So, yeah, for the community investors, if we can just have an introduction to the Holoclear project, you've got the Holoclear, I was reading, is a wealth enterprise, and you've got the Holly Yield accounts, the Holly Yield, and the Holly Pool rewards and the gilts. So we could maybe go into a bit of details for community investors about the Holoclear project. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if it's all right, we'll kind of start with I guess like the vision, like kind of why we're here and what we're trying to do long term with the Holoclear project, and then maybe that'll lead us down the path of explaining how the ecosystem helps us get there, if that makes sense. So with what Holoclear is, right, it's this we've created a crypto ecosystem that is solely designed to provide holders with a genuinely sustainable source of passive income. And how we're doing that is by trading the treasury that we raise like a hedge fund is traded, and then all of those rewards being paid out to the holders. And one of the things we've really believe, and we've seen so much of in the market over the last kind of year or two, is like yield has to be sustainable to be real. You see so many projects out there doing 10,000% APY, and it all sounds great, and it's completely unsustainable. All they're doing is printing more tokens, completely inflating the supply, and then the moment the volume of new holders stops, that becomes completely unsustainable and the whole thing crashes down. Holoclear is completely different to that. We're looking to grow the treasury, develop our ecosystem to a size where all yield is entirely backed by real world returns. And that actually means that the whole thing can be sustainable, right, and long term. And so that there's no horizon for us. That's something we just want to do for people. And it's all under this kind of slightly nice marketing phrase of like wealth 3.0, this idea of people being able to take advantage of trading and, you know, elite financial trading strategies that they don't normally get access to, and the opportunity of DeFi and crypto, kind of combine those into something that's really, you know, everyone has access to. And I mean, how we're doing this, I mean, Dev, I don't know if you want to talk a bit about the quantitative trading side at a high level. I think we don't want to get stuck into too much detail, but I think that might be good to talk about that as well.
Yeah, most people don't appreciate a maths lecture, I've learned painfully in time. So yeah, the kind of the key way that we support the yield that we pay out is by returns from the treasury. And actually, this treasury, we don't just sort of park it in particular projects. What we do is we actively trade that on centralized exchanges. We've got a couple of strategies that we use. We use the main predominant one is market making. So you will have heard of companies like Wintermute and Jump Crypto, etc., who are in this space, and that involves putting quotes and orders into the market, and as the price moves, you get filled, and then you manage your inventory with some algorithms, and you pick up rebates and spread as you're doing that. We have some other strategies as well that are called statistical arbitrage. I won't get into that, but essentially, you can think of it as in layman's terms as using algorithms and mathematics to ingest market data to make trading decisions at a high frequency. This kind of trading is pretty common in TradFi, in FX, in stocks, in commodities. There are many shops that I've worked for and others as well that that trade in this kind of style. Ones you might have heard of, probably like Citadel Securities or Millennium or Renaissance Technologies, companies like that. And so what we're trying to do is replicate those sort of ideas and those sort of techniques and put them into the crypto space on the centralized exchanges. We think there's a really good opportunity here. You know, crypto is still quite a new industry. You know, there's still significant what we would call alpha out there. There's still a lot of juice, if you will, to be traded out in the market, though. Of course, it's getting more competitive as time goes on. But the key idea is that we raise this treasury, we trade it, we generate returns, and those returns then back the actual printing of the yield token that we do. So that's how we make the yield sustainable. I think that's probably a fairly high level overview before unless I start talking about any equations or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, where I get excited certainly is, you know, when you look at the kind of returns early quantitative traders made in the markets, you know, 20 years ago, whatever, a bit more. And then you look at the fact people aren't applying those significantly into crypto. You know, we obviously see a huge amount of opportunity here. So that's like, you know, the big picture, exciting stuff like what we want to do long term is grow this treasury to hundreds and hundreds of millions and trade it for the benefit of every holder, with a load of people behind the trading, loads of traders and researchers and quants hired, and like building a really like a proper fund basically, that would pay out yield in hollow yield to holders, and anyone could buy into and have access to. So that's certainly where I get excited about, and that's kind of the big vision, I guess, of where we want to take this. And I hope the reason we're here today is we hope people share that vision, and they're excited as well, and they want to join us on that journey for sure. I don't know, Seth, if you want to maybe just talk through the ecosystem and how that kind of supports that goal.
Yeah, man, happy to do that. Again, just kind of echoing what was just said, the big utility that we're providing here and the ultimate vision, the ultimate goal for Holoclear is absolutely about providing, almost democratizing access to things that are usually for kind of the privileged financial elite. So it's almost like the utility is you basically get, I guess, some exposure to some of these kind of trading strategies that most people, you or I, never normally get access to unless you have, 100 million in the bank and you're happy to kind of deploy that into a hedge fund. So in terms of actually how we're going to go about it and the project fundamentals, in terms of how we're going to make an ecosystem that really allows us to do this, we are going to be launching tonight. So we're launching a bit later on, 9 p.m. UTC, on Binance Smart Chain, or BNB chain, or whatever they want to call it these days. Like we said, the whole goal of this is about raising a treasury that we can actively trade like a hedge fund. That's how we provide that source of yield. And it's also how the ecosystem itself becomes really self-sustaining. We've already got the trading infrastructure set up. So one of the things we spent the last 10 months building this from the ground up. And as part of that, we've basically got connections already with the team at Binance. We set up on their VIP market making program. And it really means then we can be quite competitive in trading the treasury from launch. And as Jay said, like, our ambitions really are to grow this treasury into the hundreds of millions, because obviously the larger the treasury is, the easier it is for us to ensure all the yield is backed by the profits that we raise. And that really is our ultimate aim. And everything really we're doing is really driving towards that. So to allow us to do it, we've created a token ecosystem that's got kind of a series of features that allow us to kind of support the growth and really achieve that vision. And the whole ecosystem is built around this idea of stability, and like minimizing volatility is one of our primary aims. There's a few different ways that investors can join us. So we've got a primary token within our ecosystem, the tradable token, which is called Holo. And as you'd expect, Holo you can purchase with BNB or BUSD. But obviously, the utility that we're providing is giving people access and exposure to this kind of treasury trading performance. So to actually get that benefit, Holo holders need to stake or deposit their tokens, and that's when you can start to then gain interest, as you'd expect. But there is another way, and arguably better way, that you can earn interest while also supporting the growth of the Holoclear treasury. Because again, for us, fast tracking the treasury growth is kind of the number one goal. And that really involves using the minting function. So we have a series of things called gilts, or in the US you'd call it a bond. Basically, these are ways that we can incentivize people to join the ecosystem. And the way we do that is we offer Holo at a price cheaper than the current market rate. And obviously, there's a caveat there being that the tokens that people mint then are vested or locked away for a predetermined amount of time. But throughout that entire period of time, that vesting period, maturity period, you're also earning interest. So it's basically a big win-win for everybody. Investors basically gain a discount, so you're earning interest immediately, whilst for us, obviously the BNB and the BUSD used to mint the gilts go directly into the treasury itself, so it really fast tracks that treasury's growth. And as a nice kind of add-on for all holders, anybody who's staking, anybody who's kind of staking or kind of has mints that are maturing, they're all eligible for a prize pool that we have called the Holo pool. So that's basically a separate fund that we raise through taxation. And that's drawn on a weekly basis where one holder will win the entire pool. So it could be, 20 grand that we're paying out to one individual wallet. This all uses a Chainlink random verifiable number. So there's a way that we can basically pay out one unique wallet each week, who will then basically win the whole pool. Gia, do you want to chat about the stability?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of the other, I think people will be familiar with staking and bonds and sales taxes and lotteries and things like that. I mean, these are all features you'll be familiar with. What's really unique about Holoclear and one of our like absolute core innovations that we're really excited about, and I hope people are too, is the we've got some off-chain algorithms that basically balance and respond to market forces to help limit price volatility. So what that means, right, is that I'll give you an example. So let's take a time of high sell pressure. If you asked everyone on this AMA what the biggest kind of cause of the failure of crypto projects is, right? They'll probably say people not holding. They might use some slightly rude terms about people, but they'd say people not holding and price volatility and crashes and things like that, and paper hands or whatever. And so what we've done, taking learnings from our previous projects and things like that, is design a system that responds to the market. So if there's a lot of sales, which happens, what the Holoclear ecosystem is going to do is respond to that. So it might respond by slightly increasing the sales tax. No one likes tax increases. And as that increase slightly rises, it will encourage people to think twice about selling. In tandem with that, what will also be happening is that the APY might increase. So not only is the taxes making people think twice about selling, but the stakers and the people earning interest are now earning more interest. So they're more incentivized to keep holding. The gilt price, which is the minting, would also then decrease in price, as an example, so that when it encourages more buyers, because they got a discount basically, but also those buyers are maturing for a period of time, so they can't sell immediately. So you can hopefully that makes sense. You can see how in times of like lots of sales, those things will help limit that volatility. And I think for us, that's a really, really core innovation. And just to get ahead of it, people often ask, they're like, oh, is there a limit on the taxes? Yes, there absolutely is. Those taxes will generally move between 10 and 30%, the sales taxes, not more, much more towards the lower end, but in extreme times can go up to like 50% as an absolute max, but that would be very extreme. And so that is, it's not a honeypot. People can, of course, always sell, but we're kind of using it as a lever, a bit like a central bank would. So it's a bit like income tax is a way to think of it. And that's kind of how we define the bands, like what we think a reasonable income tax is based on, the taxes we pay here in the UK and things like that.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions about that. The auto-regulating buy and sell tax and it's built into the smart contract. So you were saying, the minimum would be 10%, at the extreme it would be 50%. But what sort of periods would it switch on and off? Would it be like a 24-hour period, a weekly period, or how are you looking to sort of do it, or would it be a long-term, short-term, that sort of thing?
Well, the idea
Shall I
is
jump in here?
Yeah, go on. I think you did a good job of this.
Yeah, so the current implementation, which is actually an active area of work still, is that it observes the returns in the prices. So how you can think of it as how the actual price curve is moving, and if there's like an outsized down move, for example, it will actually raise the tax level by a fraction, and it will increase the gilt discounts as well. And then what then happens is, as that say that outsized move then gets decayed away, so let's say there was a 10% drop within 20, within, I don't know, an hour or something like that, that might increase the tax. And then if it doesn't, as time moves forward, it will then relax that price back down to the original base price of 10%. But let's say then the drop increases, it will actually then increase the tax again and then relax it down to the base rate. That's the current implementation that we've got, because we don't obviously have a lot of data about what the behavior of the trading is after we've modified the parameters. So what we hope in time is that as we get some more market data, and we'll be able to run some regressions, I guess, or some sort of predictive power on, well, hey, when actually in the past, when we moved up the price and then after this size return, this happened with the trades after, we're actually going to be able to improve that system. But we require a little bit of runtime first to be able to actually like get some data to be able to train the system. So yeah, it's basically watching the price. It's a piece of software that pulls the chain every 5 minutes, and then says, okay, what's been the returns in the last period? And given those returns, should I do nothing? Should I relax the price back down to the main price, or do I need to increase the parameters?
So I think to question, Glenn, it's genuinely responsive to the market rather than like on a 24-hour ticker or something, if you know what I mean.
Okay, I see you guys, yeah. And going into the gilts, with you saying there's minting on the gilts, I was wondering if that's built into the tokenomics where you've set so many tokens aside, or is a positive rebase built into the smart contract?
So it's a good question. The hollow yield token. So when you deposit let's say, for example, you go and you buy hollow on our swap page, you'll just have a normal token. You can then deposit that, and what you'll then receive back is a hollow yield token. And it's that hollow yield token that's got the positive rebase in it, which pays out the APY. If you unstake that, then obviously you get a one-to-one mapping with the number of hollow. Now, there's about 60% of the supply in the vault to support that initially. As that vault dwindles in supply, it would actually then mint new tokens as well. But to support that minting, we would then have the treasury returns go and interact with the LP and support the price. But initially, there's about 60% of the supply available for this sort of like initial unstaking that we need to pay. When you mint a gilt, you actually bypass the hollow stage completely. When you mint a gilt, you actually just get issued hollow yield straight away. So that's how you're getting the interest payments, the positive rebase. And of course, when you claim your gilt, you would have the hollow yield in your account, which again, you could then go and unstake and retrieve hollow if you wanted.
Okay, great. And with you mentioning the treasury, where are the profits going from the treasury? I think some's going back into the staking pools. With you mentioning the hedge fund, I'm wondering if you're looking to invest in other projects or top 100 staking on central exchanges, or investing for the investors in other areas around crypto as well. And is there a DAO involved with the treasury as well? Because usually with treasuries, there's a DAO with voting rights for investors.
Yeah, so initially we're not going to be sort of investing in other projects or other staking projects. We're actually just going to focus on the actual trading strategies themselves. So the trading strategies could hold positions in, it's generally we trade perpetual futures because that allows us to take a short position. It allows us to get leverage. We also get the market making program is for trading futures, so we get a rebate of about 1.4 basis points per trade that we do because we're on this Binance special market making program. So we'll just be focusing on the market making and the arbitrage at first. Of course, as the treasury grows in size, the aim is to hire people, and we're of course would be interested in hire people who have a lot of DeFi trading experience, or maybe want to do more discretionary based investment in certain projects. But that's not that's on the roadmap. That's not from day one. In terms of a down note, we sort of think that we're, given our experience, we actually think we're the best people to centrally manage it to make the right decisions. I think that a DAO can be a bit cumbersome and can have, different optimized for different outcomes for different people. And so we kind of actually think that it's safest and best and most agile for us to be able to manage the treasury centrally. We appreciate that's different to how some other people have set it up, but that's the way that we've decided to do it. Of course, if people don't like the idea of having vote rights, they don't have to invest. But we feel that actually that managing the treasury ourselves, given our experience, is the most beneficial thing.
Yeah, I think to add to that, I mean, we see Holoclear as a business, right? Like, we're going to run it like one. We're going to, be obviously super transparent, as we have been. I'm sure anyone from the community listening will back this up, but we're super transparent with the community. We'll report treasury results. We'll communicate, as much as we can about planned trading strategies and things like that, and the some of the backtest results and things like that. These are all things we can do. But I guess in simple terms, we want the people who are in the weeds of these strategies and understanding them and building them and delivering them, being the people who decide what goes ahead for the benefit of the whole project and the whole business. So I think that's very much how we're thinking about it. But we'll obviously be reporting results to the community and the market, as you would expect.
Okay, great. I see. And with the Holly Yield accounts, so that's token staking, there'll be variable APY, APR, I think we've established it on the call today. And there's the Holly Pool rewards. So if I would have to stake a certain amount of tokens to get a weekly draw in the prize pool from the Holly Pool rewards as a extra incentive from staking.
Yeah, so there is a minimum stake amount. It's quite low. I think it's only set at around $50 at the moment. There's also the same for a minimum amount to mint a gilt. That's to kind of disincentivize any bots putting 1 cent in and trying to mess around with our system. So we put a floor in, but obviously we want it to be accessible for as many people as possible. And we understand that people have different economic situations. So we said what we think is about a reasonable amount, about $50. That's obviously subject to change. We would listen to the community, and if everyone's like, oh, it's too high or it's too low, then we might modify that. But there's a current minimum amount. But if you think there's a minimum amount for you to stake, once you're staked, then you are actually entered into the prize pool draw.
See, and with the gilts, a lot of community investors might have not seen a sort of investment platform like that before. Maybe we could go into some details how that works. What sort of investors would be advantageous to get involved with the gilts?
Yeah, so I mean the main benefit there's twofold benefits for investors, but the first one is that it's a discount at market rate, and the trade-off is that you have to wait until maturity to have access to your tokens. So you can think of it like, let's say that Holo is trading at $1. Let's say that a 30-day gilt then has a 10% discount. That means that you can buy 1 Holo for 90 cents, but because it's a 30-day gilt, you wouldn't be able to withdraw the Holly Yield into your wallet until the end of the 30 days. I mean, it exists in an escrow account. You can view it on our DApp. You can see the amount of interest that you've gained over the 30 days, etc. But you just can't actually sell, unstake them and sell them until the end of the period. So it's like it's a benefit for the project because that money goes directly into the treasury. So it bypasses the LP or anything like that. So it's a fast track to growing the treasury. But the benefit for the user is that, well, hey, I can mint these. I like the long-term vision of this project. If I want to be involved in this project for a year, then you can mint a 1-year gilt and you're going to get a deep discount for that. And if you were going to hold anywhere, then you might as well do that. But there's a trade-off, right? You don't get the discount for free. You have to, you are, I suppose, the time value of money, I guess, is what I would call it. You are accepting that to buy at a discount that you won't be able to do anything with your tokens for the amount until the maturity period is over. And it's all on the DApp. It's really, it's quite intuitive. So you just go to the mint page, you pick which asset you would like to mint with, whether that be BNB or BUSD. There's the different maturity options available to you with the live discounts that are available at the moment. You just put how much that you want, click OK, and then it pops up in a little window at the bottom that tells you the current gilts that you're holding with a countdown until when they're matured.
Okay, and with the dApps, does it have like a calculator where it'll tell you what potentially you could get back in the tokens over a period of staking? Is there long-term staking as well as 30 days with the gilts? Is it like a 90-day, 6 months, 12 months?
Yeah, so currently there's a 30-day, 90-day, and a 1 year. We can add more of them. They're just product lines, so we can add them. We can take them away as we, as sort of we see how people interact with them. In terms of a calculator, no, there isn't actually. I mean, we could add that as a feature in the roadmap. If that's beneficial to people, we're always happy to hear new features. No, at the moment, you would just have to do the maths yourself and say, okay, well, if I'm going to be staked for 1 year and the APY is this, then there's an expectation that I might make Y. But we could add something like that in as a feature, yeah. But at the moment, no, all that's displayed is the discount to the current price and the time and the APY. So, you know, with a bit of pen and paper, you could work it out, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen it built into other projects, but it's only everything's variable, so it's not really. It's just an example of what ranges you could make in the future. And you've also had free pre-sales, so I was wondering how much you raised in the it was the P Holo, which was the pre-token that's going to be converted into the Holo token. I think after the launch, and if there's any vesting periods for them free pre-sales you had.
Yeah, so we did so the first two pre-sales. So I think as was mentioned before, we did a previous project that had the aim of starting a hedge fund, but it wasn't quite set up right in the right way. So we didn't quite achieve what we wanted to achieve. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, designed Holos from the ground up to achieve what we want to achieve. And then what we did was we went back to our community and we said, "Hey guys, this is our new project. Are you interested in getting involved? Here's a pre-sale." So we did 2 rounds of that, and that raised about 2,000 BNB. So obviously, great community support. People were happy to be involved again. So that was really really nice to see. That gave us kind of the scope to go away and actually build the thing, because obviously it's been a lot of work. I think it's been about probably 10 months worth of work so far, which is obviously takes time. But then once we were coming to the end, what we decided to do was to get some more holders involved and to kind of start to reach out into a new market. We did a third pre-sale, just a small one, 300 BNB, and did some AMAs to advertise that, and that sold out within about an hour. In terms of the vesting, the pre-sellers are vested. They're vested for 25 days. How it works is they take their P Holo, they go to the pre-sale section of the DApp, they swap their P Holo, they essentially burn it, and then they get they can see their pre-sale tokens inside the escrow, and they can claim up to 4% a day from that. They're actually earning interest as well during the whole vesting period.
Awesome. And I saw you've got lots of educational resources on the white paper, which is great. So are you looking to target new investors and have sort of tutorials and YouTube videos in the future, to help new investors in crypto?
Yeah, definitely. That's we did a lot of work to build. One of the biggest lessons we had from last project was the education piece. Like, best will in the world. Like, you need to educate people and make it easy for people to understand projects, and this has complexity to it, right? So we built a big, hopefully easy to understand document library, which is available, and we'd really recommend anyone gives a read before investing. That's docs.holoclear.xyz. But we will also be, I guess, kind of breaking that down even further. We released today a short podcast, like really simple explainer of exactly how the ecosystem works. It's like 3 minutes long, I think. So we'd recommend listening to that. And we will be doing some kind of infographic content as well to make things really, really simple for people to understand, explain everything, so that it's accessible to people who aren't, I guess, native crypto investors.
Okay, great. And have you had audits on the smart contract for the Holoclear token?
Yeah, so we had an audit done. We got that back last week. Implemented the relevant changes. They picked up a few things that were sort of good to get a second pair of eyes on it, basically. So they picked up a few little things that needed tweaking. I think that is available on our docs library. Though one of the other guys.
Yeah, it is. It's available. So anyone who wants to read that on HoloDocs, if you go to the contract audits part, you can see the, 55-page audit, because it was 15 contracts interacting. Obviously, it was an extremely thorough process to audit that, but all of that detail is there. We've obviously remediated any of the suggested changes from them, and you'll obviously be able to see that in the code if you're that way inclined.
Okay, great. And you're launching at 9 p.m. UTC tonight. What's the marketing plans after the launch, say for the first week in the first quarter? What you're planning, because you've had big projects in the past before. I imagine you've got a lot of connections, and there'll be some great marketing going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I can talk a little bit about that. So first thing to say, I guess, is in terms of our overall strategy, it's kind of twofold, right? We're firstly, we are looking to target kind of educated and crypto native audiences, and best marketing in the world, by the way, is word of mouth, and we've been done pretty well on that so far, raising most of our pre-sale off the back of that. We're doing a lot of work kind of community wise and sort of some slightly kind of focused content in 4chan and Reddit and crypto Twitter, just to get the word spreading about Holoclear, which has definitely already started. Then the launch part, obviously we're being supported by lots of influencers. We're trying to make sure we align with the right influencers who genuinely support the project. People like Travlad have always been really big supporters of us throughout, and you'll see lots of stuff going out over Twitter and things like that, to be honest. And then the second most important part of that, and actually the focus of our marketing strategy for launch, is exactly what we're doing now. It's going out and talking to people. It's spreading the word about the Holoclear vision and what we're trying to do with long term, and to help people understand that and want to be a part of it. And so that's been a big focus. And I think to your question, Glenn, that's not something we're just doing for launch and then we're hoping for the best. That's going to be a consistent narrative with the crypto community across BSC, and then further down the line we'll look to kind of cross chain into ETH and other stuff. Kind of the next phase of the strategy is to move from that kind of initial launch AMA interview piece to a bit more of a kind of press campaign and press strategy, because if you think about, there's so many nice narratives we can weave around the project in terms of like a genuinely unique ecosystem, a genuinely unique way to provide real genuine yield to holders sustainably, and so that focusing on that and a different way to people invest and make passive income is a very attractive kind of press strategy that we'll be able to push out right across crypto news, but also into kind of the more normie space, I guess. So there's a lot of that as our kind of direction of travel. We'll get quite a lot of YouTubers on probably as our sort of second wave of marketing to analyze not only the launch and the ecosystem, but also the treasury results, because that's going to be the best marketing we have, right? We can literally go out and say, okay, well, we been trading the treasury for a month, these are the returns we've got, this is what's been paid out to holders, and suddenly you start being able to do that, and that's really attractive marketing. It also opens up the door to big kind of venture capital style investment, kind of, or serious large private investors, because you've got proven returns on their money. And obviously one of the other elements we'll be doing is listing on a couple of central exchanges. It's not something I expect to happen in the next few weeks, but probably in the next few months. I think we must have mentioned already that we're very well plugged into Binance. We're on their VIP program for trading, so we're on the Fast API. We've got like an account manager there and a contact. We've also sort of plugged into the Binance incubator team, talking about potentials there, and so listing and things like that should be fairly straightforward to fast track. Equally, we've got connections into KuCoin and things like that. So and probably worth mentioning as well that there's a token called HoloWrap as part of the ecosystem, which is literally designed to be deployed on central exchanges because they struggle a bit with dynamic taxes and stuff like that. So that's, I guess, the direction of travel where we're going to take it. And like we've said, it's built for the long term. So this is, I think what's really exciting for us is this launch is just about building the foundations for a solid long-term project, and from there we can just keep building on that and growing towards that kind of hundreds of millions of size treasury, which is very much the goal.
Okay, great, GRV. So that's great. You've set that up with Binance. What was involved there? Did you have to go to meetings? Did you have to tell them about the project? KYC? Was there a lot of meetings involved to get in there, the Binance platform?
So, because of my experience in working for hedge funds, my last job before going to this project was to actually work for a crypto market maker. So I had contact there. So just fired up the chat and just talked about it. And yeah, obviously we've obviously got Binance accounts, and we're all KYC'd and everything with them. So it was just a little conversation, and they knew who I was. So it was reasonably straightforward.
That's great, guys. Well, let's open it up to the rest of the team. If anyone's got a question for the Holoclear team here, go ahead.
So I think it would be possible to share some backtest. I was thinking about doing a blog post on it. Obviously, been a bit busy getting everything out and live. So certainly, we're thinking doing a blog, and I can do a little bit more of a deep dive into actually at a high level how some of the strategies work. In terms of returns and stuff, it's variable, of course, depending on how things work. Like I think of things in terms of what's called a Sharpe ratio, which is sort of like a measure of returns to volatility. That Sharpe ratio then becomes a function of how much capital you're deploying. So it's easier to obtain a Sharpe ratio of 5 or 6 on $1 million than it is to achieve a Sharpe ratio of 5 or 6 on $1 billion. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what we expect to be in the future, and obviously we can have down months. That's part of life. But roughly, I would be expecting to be being orthogonal to returns in the market between the ranges of about 10 and 100%, depending on the total capital deployed in a typical year. And that obviously one of the I have a finite. I'm one researcher, right? I have a finite number of strategies that I know to deploy. But one of the things that we're doing is, of course, once we grow the treasury, we can actually utilize some of the funds to hire people, and so we can get other strategies involved. And another thing that I'm actively pursuing with some of my contacts in the industry is what's called an alpha capture program. So that's where we open up the treasury to other researchers to be able to send signals that we then trade, and when we have a profit sharing deal with them. So these are kind of all techniques that other funds are using at the moment to try and essentially get a larger border of signals so that you can smooth out some of the volatility that's associated with certain trades. But those I would say are the rough sort of numbers. But I think I'll do a blog post probably in the next week or two, just to talk about some of the stuff that we're doing, because I think it'd be really important. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the upper end is more for the certain. It's really kind of depends on the strategy class, and it's so different strategy classes have different capacities. So, for example, if you have a model that's trading FX and there's huge liquidity in FX, and you only want to rebalance once a quarter because you have an expectation of, say, what some economic results are, you will actually have quite a low Sharpe ratio. It'd be quite volatile, but you have a huge capacity, so you might be able to deploy $1 billion into that one strategy. Something like market making, which is very high frequency, once you start upping the amount of volume that you want to show to the world, then you actually start having what's called an anti-selection, and so you can start modifying the behavior of the market with your own interactions. And so actually, when strategies like that actually have a lower capacity, and you have to start to look for other techniques and whatnot. So it's difficult to sort of give a one number, and there's also a whole portfolio management piece on top that I would like to build that doesn't exist yet. But that's another thing that I have experience with building before, which is where you actually can allocate into different strategies in a dynamic fashion as well, given the performance of the strategies. And that can help as well to lower the correlations between strategies, et cetera. So yeah, typically, sort of like stat arb, momentum-based stuff is at the lower end, but higher capacity. And then things that are higher frequency have usually a higher returns, but the returns are obviously on a smaller capital base.
Thanks for the questions. Actually, I see we've got Nathan Hill in the house. He's from CMC Coin, as a friend of ours who has a crypto magazine. It's digital weekly and quarterly. It's in the UK retailer. So he's got a question. So let's go to Nathan. Hi, Nathan. You had a question?
Hi guys, how you all doing? You all okay?
Good.
Good, thank you. Bit,
It's amazing to hear some British accents. It's a rarity in the crypto space.
yeah, we're feel at home. Feel at home. It's really good.
To kind of just give you a bit about myself, I'm the CEO of the Crypto Magazine. We're the largest crypto magazine globally, operating out of 19 countries, available in pretty much every major store around the world. Whenever I'm looking at listening into any AMAs, it's always Coin Talk I come to. They always bring some really strong projects. And I've been sitting here, I had a few hours spare, I've been sitting here just jotting down. A lot of the questions that I've got have been answered, but it sounds like you guys have got something really special. There's a few reasons why I say that. Is first of all, obviously, and it was something that I picked up on earlier. I think someone had mentioned a DAO. I think Leonard said, like, is it a DAO? And one of the major things that would excite me about what you guys are doing is, first of all, you're experienced traders and business people, which is quite rare, believe it or not, in the crypto space. And you know what you're doing. So obviously, if you know what you're doing, you can't be offering those kind of decision-making opportunities out to people that might not know what they're doing. So I completely agree with that. A couple of things that I was interested in asking is, have you got any idea of kind of your expected trading profits? Because one of the things that I'll look at is only 4% of the world's population invest in crypto. And it's mainly because they don't understand it. So to have a really experienced team actually trading on their behalf and passing the profits back to them, to me, is a massive plus. But have you kind of got any idea of expected profits and things like that? Have you done that kind of side of the business?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of related to the previous question a little bit, and thanks for your kind words as well about us. It feels good to hear that, you know, and we have conviction that we think we're the right people to run this. So that's why, yeah, exactly we're going to run this like a business. So actually, a DAO kind of a thing would be a poor decision for us. In terms of profits, it's related to the previous question. It's actually kind of a function of where the treasury's at, and because that allows us to do a number of things. When we have more capital, you can deploy them into different sorts of strategies. So like I said, one of the main focuses of initially is going to be market making. Now, the world's preeminent market makers, I think probably Jump Crypto or Wintermute, you know, had made billions of dollars in the bull run. Now, obviously, they've got sophisticated teams. They've got teams of 20 and 30 guys covering 24 hours a day. There's a whole, they're quite mature businesses. And obviously, what we're trying to do is compete with them in the long term, but we're not obviously going to be able to compete with them in the short term. And those kind of numbers are obviously not going to happen when the treasury starts out at $250,000. But the advantage of it being a small treasury is that we can actually kind of deploy it quite effectively without moving the market, I guess, this anti-selection thing that I was talking about. So it's hard to say, really. And of course, with it being a dynamic system as well, so different strategies perform well at different times. So I'll give you an example. Market making as a strategy wants the market to go sideways. It wants you to the price to go up, so all of your offers get hit, and then it wants the price to come down, so all of your bids get hit, and you just pick up spread on the way up, and you pick up spread on the way down, and you end up with zero inventory. It's called a delta neutral strategy, and that's because actually you don't really want any risk, in particular to actually the movements of these currencies in a directional sense. You actually want to be neutral to that and just pick up the spread of people trading. That obviously minimizes the risk of there being a big move, but when there is a big move, you could actually end up with some inventory. Because obviously you haven't, let's say the price has gone up, so all of your offers have been hit, So then you're short the asset, and then all of a sudden the price just keeps going up. Then you have to somehow unload that inventory, and you can end up, if it reaches your risk tolerances, you can end up unloading that at a loss. So in terms of sort of like the feel of it, it's it really does depend on how the market is behaving. But the point I suppose that we're trying to make is that what we see is that the market is less sophisticated than the FX, or particularly the equities market, which is very sophisticated with lots of quantitative trading going on. We see that it's a bit less sophisticated than that at the moment, so we actually see that there's a lot of opportunity for these types of strategies. Sorry if I went a little bit too technical before. I just get a bit excited about these type of things.
Yeah,
But
I think, I mean, I completely agree with what you guys are doing. It's something that I think that the industry needs, experienced traders trading on their behalf, because people just don't have that knowledge. They don't know how to do that. I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been jumping in and out through the whole AMA. But did you mention earlier that you're a rebase token?
No, so well, the way that the holo yield is paid is actually via a rebase, because so we have 3 tokens. So the main token is not a rebase token, so that just trades at just be a normal chart. But the holo yield token, so the token that you get from staking, rebase is just actually a really effective and efficient way inside a smart contract to be able to pay interest to everybody at the same time. There are other ways you could do it. You could, of course, just have people come and harvest it. But given that we pay out every 4 hours, that would actually be you doing a lot of clicking and going and spending a lot of gas. So actually, it's much easier for our software to monitor the chain every 4 hours, initiate a rebase for the holo yield, and that's a way that it can pay the interest out. This is not an uncommon strategy. I think if you look at some of the projects.
Yeah. I completely understand. I mean, is it an increasing rebase? So, obviously, if you're increasing supply, do you have any? And I hope I'm not hijacking the chat here, but do you have any kind of strategies as to, obviously, if you increase supply, there's often a situation where increasing supply will decrease the value of a token. Have you got any strategies as to handle that?
Well, that's a really, really, really important point. That is what the treasury returns are for. So actually, exactly. So because there's 2 tokens, it's separated out. So we're not increasing the supply of the main tradable token. It's just the rebase token that's going up in supply. Positive, it's a positive rebase. But obviously, if people unstake that, once the vault is depleted, that's the buffer. There's 56. I think it's about 50 or 60% of the supply is inside the vault. That's sort of the buffer. Obviously, if the buffer runs out, we will start minting new tokens when everybody unstakes. Now, the point of that is, of course, as you correctly identified, that will have the negative pressure on the price. But the entire point of the treasury returns is that once, say, the treasury has gone up by 50% or whatnot, that will actually be the way that it will work, is that will be used to bolster the price so that the yield is paid out without the price going down. So, like, in a perfect world, if I could describe exactly how it would be in 5 years' time, there'd be no taxes. There would be the holo price would be fixed. It would never, it would be almost like would never go up or never go down. You would stake and you would get your APY, and you could unstake. And every time you unstake, the treasury would just go and make sure that the price, that unstaking might cause a mint, which would cause the price to go down. The treasury would then just go and purchase in the LP to prop the price back up. And so that's how you can have this, and the APY that you will be receiving will be exactly matched to the treasury performance. Now, that's obviously the long-term goal, because we can't get there straight away. We need to go and raise the treasury first. We need to incentivize people to come and join us as an ecosystem. And so actually that's why in the transitory period between this sort of vision of in the future where the yield exactly matches the treasury APY, we have this dynamic system which allows us to adjust the parameters of, say, the APY of the gilt discounts of the taxation to try to mollify any of the negative effects that we could have during that transition on the price. So that's sort of like why we set up the dynamic nature of it, is it's unique and it was a cool thing to do. But secondly, as we understand that to transition to the long-term vision of a fixed price with exactly the treasury yields being paid out, we obviously can't get there from day one. So we have this dynamically adjusting system which allows us to try, and it'll be imperfect. I'm not. This is not some panacea for volatility, but it will allow us to hopefully nudge the behavior of the community such that we can try and decrease the volatility as we move to a point where the treasury is fully mature. It's trading all the time. The returns are good, and that's bolstering the inflation that we get from minting.
I think that's amazing. And you've answered everything spot on. Yeah, I mean, it's really clever how you've kind of set it up. But I suppose it goes back to what I said before. It really, it just strengthens the whole process of why projects with a real business team and experienced people behind them is potentially more bullish than others. I won't take up. I just have one brief question. Who you mentioned your audit? Can I just ask who it was that audited the contract?
Yeah, sure. So we actually decided to go with a company called Uveros. So we got quotes from Certic, we got quotes from Hacken. The thing that put us off a little bit with them was all we did was speak to a sales guy. Now I'm pretty active in it's probably worth mentioning that all these contracts are written in a language called Viper. They're not written in Solidity. I chose to do that for a few security reasons because I wanted to. I'm a kind of a Python guy in terms of what language I code in, so a Pythonic language makes me feel more comfortable. I'm quite active in that Discord community, so I actually went in there and asked the guys in the open source community. I said, "Hey, I'm looking to get an audit for my project. Is anybody you could recommend?" The guys recommended, and then when I spoke to them, I actually got to speak to the guy that was going to audit the contract. So we got to speak on a technical level, which was really, really beneficial for me to feel comfortable. And so we decided to go with those guys. They're a little bit less well known than Certic and Hacken and whatnot. But to be honest, I've seen on Twitter that some rumors that Certic are just farming out their audits to people in Indonesia anyway. So I was very happy to go with them. It's pretty in depth. You can see it on the docs. I think it's about 50 pages long. If you want a little bit of bedtime reading to send you to sleep, you can have a look at all the gas optimizations that we've made. And there were a few bugs. I'll hold my hands up. There was a few things that needed to be fixed, which we did. And so, yeah,
that's the idea of an audit at the end of the day, isn't it? It's the idea of having it audited is to fix those problems. But
exactly, the audit is for me, for my benefit, really.
Exactly, and that's the point. And I think I completely agree with what you say. Just having the best brand name in the industry or the most recognizable doesn't mean it's the best product that you can get. Everyone knows McDonald's, but I can guarantee there'll be someone locally that will make a better quality burger, but they might not be as well known.
Exactly.
I completely agree with that, and thank you ever so much for taking my questions. I'm actually feeling quite bullish about the project, so I'm going to be researching quite a bit this evening.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you for the questions, Nathan. Let's move on to Syed. You had a question for the team. Go ahead.
Glenn, maybe just to jump in really quickly, what we might do is Dev might stay on and answer a couple of questions, and then Set and I might drop off just because we've got a bit of a back-to-back schedule ahead of launch, as you can imagine. So I wanted to take the opportunity to just really thank you and the Whalecoin team and everyone who's listened today, because it's been a really great AMA, actually. Dev's going to stay on and answer any questions because we want to keep the dialogue going. But just from my side, thanks for having us. Please do get involved in launch at 9 o'clock today. Join us on the socials at Holoclear on Telegram and on Twitter, Discord as well. Great channel for us. So please do get involved. And then, hope some of you will join us in launch. But thanks so much for having us. I'll jump off. Dev will stay on to answer questions. And yeah, thanks again.
That's fine, GRV. Thanks very much for coming. And yeah, so we'll go to Syed. You had a question for the Holoclear team. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Had a few questions, but as we are short on time, so we'll be asking one question. So I want to understand that will your treasury be maintained in different assets for trading, or it will be in native token or stable coin?
We'll be predominantly starting to trade with perpetual futures. That's where you can really benefit from the full breadth of quant strats because you can take short positions and you can get leverage. So that's really really important for us. Of course, most perpetual futures are USDT margined, so we'll be holding the margin in USDT, but of course we'll be holding positions in probably starting with the top 20, 30 most liquid perpetual futures across FTX, Huobi, and Binance.
Okay, thank you so much for answering. Over to you, Glenn.
Thanks for the question, Syed. Let's move to Aisha. You had a question for the Holoclear team. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. So you mentioned that Holoclear controls market forces through algorithmically balancing of different controls available for interest rates, taxation, guilds, and rewards. I want to understand, do the algorithm balance interest rates, taxation, rewards automatically, or you also have manual control over it?
So the way that it works is some of the algorithm, because we want to be able to update it, and as I think I mentioned earlier on, that it's set up in a fairly kind of rule-based way at the moment. That as we get more data, we'll be able to move it to a more sort of machine learning, linear regression, non-linear regression type way. But of course, we don't have much market data at the moment. So how that works is, if you can think about, the smart contracts have functions that can be called that set these rates, and then I have a piece of software that runs off chain. It's deployed in AWS, and that actually pulls the chain for data for price data, and then injects the new parameters, whether that be the gilt discount, the APY, the tax, etc. That actually injects them into the contract. Just because from a technical perspective, inside a smart contract, you've got this thing called a gas limit. You all know gas. If when you're buying stuff, there's a maximum amount of gas that you can use, which actually limits the amount of sort of mathematics that you can do inside a smart contract. So it's a lot easier to have that bit running off chain. It also means that I can change the code as I want off chain as we get more data and to understand exactly how the market responds to the changes that we make. That being said, I of course have manual control over that as well, just in case the algorithm decides to do something crazy. It's got some obviously things in it. It won't ever try and set the tax too high or anything like that. But if it does do anything, or we want to modify the behavior with a manual intervention, I have that ability as well.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
For the question, Aisha. We've got a couple of hands up, but unfortunately we've run out of time today, but it's been great speaking to the Holoclear team here. The project looks great, and it's really interesting for our community investors to hear about the Holoclear project today. As we say, welcome to us for research and educational purposes. It's not financial advice, but you can check out the website, the white paper, the official socials are in our main chat, and that's what we recommend for community investors. Yeah, check out the white paper, the website, have a chat with the team and the community in the socials if you like what you see. They're launching at 9 p.m. UTC tonight, so you can get involved on the launch Pancake Swap. So thank you very much for coming today, guys. I think we've got spin the wheel as well for 2 lucky winners, $50 each if Act is there. Can't see it yet, but okay. Yeah, and if anyone's got any questions, no, I can't see it yet. No. Oh yeah, it's there now. Yeah. I was just saying, if anyone's got any questions after the AMA, just head over to the socials, and I'm sure the team can answer any questions after the AMA. Okay, thanks.
Thanks so much for having us,
Thanks very
guys.
much.
Really
Take care.
appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yep, take care to the team. And I'll finish the record and send over a copy for you to share with your community, and I'll send that into our main chat for anyone who couldn't join the call today.